So this one has been a long time coming. A lot of people have heard about this story, but not in depth in terms of what happened. But do you want to tell us what happened in, I think it was March 2020, in terms of you losing a lot of money? What do you want to tell us the story behind that?
So this is a very good one. But yeah, besides COVID happening in March 2020, for those who don't know, we touched on it. I lost $26,000 trading forex. I think it was over a span of 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
I ended up getting JP and Tom into the same boat, which was sinking.
Not as bad as you, but
not as bad as
we
me.
lost together with a house deposit.
I think it's interesting because I think it's good to give a backdrop on how I end up getting into it and sort of what it was a bad part of my life, but I think it's really important because it's sort of like a springboard into helping us create the hustler squad and into this really good, I think, fruitful period now of my life. At that time, I remember, I was going through a down time. I just wanted to make money really quickly. I was like, I'll do whatever it takes. If you tell me to bloody jump off a cliff, I'll jump off a cliff to make $1 million. I just wanted to make money really quickly. And I remember first getting onto this forex bot. I won't mention by who or not, but yeah, I got into this forex bot, which was basically promising that it'll make you a couple $100 a day if you put I think I ended up putting 15K into a trading bot. And it was doing actually quite well. Like in the beginning, I was like, oh wow. And I remember telling you nah, this is too good to be true. No chance of this happening. And some Singaporean guy who's like actually leading the bot. And I was like, I was skeptical, but I was like, it's making me money. Why not? And then COVID came and the crash came and it just basically wiped out maybe half of the value of that was in that bot. And I think that what then happened, and I started chasing the money, right? So I lost half the money and I was like, okay, maybe I can do forex trading by myself and start, doing it. And I remember at that time you were learning how to do forex trading.
Yeah, I actually learned, I knew everything about forex that you shouldn't do. Yeah. Everything, it's all the same with match betting. It's all structure, psychology, money management.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we just didn't stick to that.
Exactly.
But keep telling the story.
Yeah, keep telling. So basically, so I lost money, a substantial amount of money from the forex bot.
Yeah.
That happened because COVID crashed and the markets just flipped. In a second, there was your money just got wiped out. That's forex. Forex is 24/7. It's not like a stock market, right? And I think after that, what happened was I was so determined to make that money back, and I thought I knew what was happening because I was watching this guy trade for the past few months. I was like, I can do this. It's not that hard. I can do this. So I went and made my own account, deposited I think another 10K or something, and just shorted. I remember shorted the I shorted the German. I shorted the Nasdaq, ASX. Just short everything. I was like, what? I think we had a running joke of I'm putting our shorts on, man. We're shorting everything.
We never went long. Everything was short. If it wasn't short, it was wrong.
It was wrong. I was like, nah, the world's done. I was like, I think it's funny because I look back on a lot of us correlated to my emotions, right? And it's something we teach you. I was like, emotion, do not have any emotion. And I'm generally, I think, an emotional person. If I had to say, probably you can agree on that. And I was in emotional time because one of my best mates passed away. COVID happened. It just, I was locked up. It's like life sucked, right? So I was like, who cares? The world's gonna end. Just freaking crash. Everything's gonna crash. So I just shorted everything. I remember I was doing good in the beginning. I remember I was doing good, but I never took profit. And
you're up 10K, I think, or 8K or something. And I'm like, man, take profit because it's gonna come the other way, and you know about it.
I remember one of my phone calls.
I'm gonna wait till 15 and shit. And I'm like, no, man. Anyway, 3 days later, I'm minus.
Yeah. So. When I look back, I think what I was on the peak of MassTube. So if you've been listening to us, we talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect quite a lot. And I think I thought I knew so much and I was so confident, but in reality, I knew nothing.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about unit size, structure, it's the same principles we teach in match betting is actually relevant to forex trading. I knew nothing about that. I was just putting ridiculous unit sizes, just chucking my money in. My percentage of what I was putting on was ridiculous as well, on my actual equity and capital. And I remember I was in passive profit, but I never took any profit. And all of a sudden, over the next few weeks, everything started reversing and just going to negatives. Started changing my stop losses because I thought, it's going to reverse, it's going to go back the other way. And you get into this dangerous cycle where you're just trying to keep yourself alive because you're just hoping, which is similar to betting, you're just hoping that it's going to go your way and you're going to end up making money, but you're never going to take profit. So eventually I end up losing 26K. I still remember the last day when I got margin called. And I was like, because JP got margin called, I think, a week before me.
Yeah, I lost 14K in the 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But that margin call was relieving, I must say.
Yeah, I remember he was telling me, man, just get margin calls. It's the best feeling. You start sleeping 8 hours a night again. I was sleeping 2-3 hours. It was so bad. I got to a point where I was waking up in the middle of the night just watching my trades.
Yeah.
So I couldn't sleep, obviously, and I had to work, so it's affecting my work. And I think it's similar to people who do multis. Like,
Yeah,
they wake up in the middle of the night watching their soccer multis. I was the same back in the day too. And I remember what happened to me a week later. I got margin called, and I just felt this huge stress relief. And it was just like, wow, it's like, even though I had lost 26K, it was like that stress and that time that it consumed. It's sort of like these are like the side effects, right? We don't think about these things like when we're betting or we're trading forex or even running a business. There's so many side effects that just add up that we don't consider when we start doing these things. But I remember that was a huge sigh of relief. But I think losing that 26K was probably the most defining period of my life. In terms of it really helped me change and have this paradigm shift. I remember you were sharing me videos on Bob Proctor and rest in peace to him. He passed away recently, but he really shifted my mindset on life and how to view things and how to change my habits, because I had this mindset that I can just get rich quickly, which is not the case. Nothing in life is like that. Nothing in life is free. You can't get rich quickly. Contrary to what people say or what you see on Facebook or TikTok, Instagram, there's nothing like that. And it sort of changed my mindset into that. Okay, if I want to become wealthy, I want to have more time, but I also want to make a lot of money and become rich and have financial success. I really need to start building up the right habits, and I really need to have a shift in my mindset in terms of learning that it's a process and a journey, and I have to have the right systems in my life. So I definitely changed my investing strategy and investing mindset and the way I invest in crypto, for example, or stocks or commodities and whatnot. I make sure I have unit size and structure. But I think the biggest thing what it taught me was that respect money and be indifferent to it. So it's sort of what Anton talks about in his video, which we share as well, which we really like. And the reason is that I was living in a third world country. I'm living in Ethiopia, and I just lost 26,000 Australian dollars over a month.
Yeah, what's that, like 5 years rent?
Yeah, it's like 5 years rent. You put the value in it, like the average person probably in Ethiopia makes $1,000-$2,000 a year. So just when you think you put in that
12 years.
Yeah, you put in that mindset, you put in that perspective, and you're like, wow, like I think that's what really hit me. And I was like, what was I doing? I just look back at it, and it's like, even now you just reminded me. I've completely just forgotten about it. But the lessons it taught me was like, I think life changing, and it's what led us to talking about the hustle squad and talking about like, instead of just doing match betting ourselves and scaling. I think that's also why we lost so much money forex trading, because we've been doing match betting for ages and years, and so that money came to us really easily.
Exactly, yeah.
So it didn't really mean much to us. But then when we started putting value on that and saying, actually no, that we need to respect that money could go to changing somebody's life. And as entrepreneurs, I believe we have a duty to socially contribute in that
of course,
in that kind of way. So I think it changed our perspective on that, and it's what led us to now build this amazing community where our mantra is build communities, change your lives, because at the end of the day, money comes and goes, but the impact you have on someone's life is everlasting, right?
Yeah.
And I think that forex journey, I hate talking about it. Like, I think it's like the 10th time you've convinced me to I'm going to talk about this. It's going to help people listen to this podcast. But it really did, I think, define sort of the course and change our course. I think, and I think you probably agree on that. But I think the biggest lesson from that is when we relate it back to betting is, if you don't have structure, if you don't have unit size, if you don't have the right goal, you're always going to end up, I think, back down.
Literally inevitable that you'll lose.
Yeah.
How long after did we make Hustler? Because I reckon it was almost the same week that we had a phone call. Because obviously the Hustler Squad was actually built for USA.
Yeah.
Because that was the original plan. And then obviously the last kind of almost 2 years, till the day almost, we started it, and I said I was going to focus on Australia first, and obviously that's been a delayed 2 years. And we couldn't even start USA yet because of the legalities behind sports betting over there. But how long after did we have that phone call? Do you remember? I
think it was like a week or two. Cause I remember you sent me the Bob Proctor video on that paradigm shift. I know you watched it, and then you sent it to me. I think it was like a couple of weeks. We talked about the idea, but then we started putting it into action probably a month later. Yeah. And then that got the Australia one was a couple of months
June 2020 was we released the free course.
Yeah.
And then Platinum was like end of August.
Yeah.
But
I was just quickly just talk on that as well. I think another thing I just forgot to say is, a big influence on what led me to the forex and losing the money was my environment. And I think it's so important to talk about that, because we don't realize it, but our environment is so important. You probably heard that quote, like, you're the average of the 5 closest people to you. People just say these things.
It couldn't be more true.
Yeah, we just say these things, but it's like when you actually really just sit down and think about it, you're like, crap, I'm actually am. Like, look at the 5 closest people to you. You're probably very similar to them. Yeah. And I think at that time I was surrounding myself with people who are, maybe got rich like, sort of a corrupt way or just got lucky. I was in these forex groups where people were just talking about all their wins and whatnot. So it's like, wow, I want to be like them, freaking. I want to be driving a Ferrari, like, because you see all these forex people on like Instagram driving all these nice cars.
Yeah, but they rent out.
They rent it out
and then market it for the next
exactly
3 years.
Which I figured out later on. I didn't even realize that. Yeah. But you hear all this stuff, and my environment was toxic because that's all I hear. That's all I'm seeing.
Yeah.
What happens? You want to become like that, right? So I think that had a really big influence on why I got into forex trading and. Into that sort of you could sheep mentality, right? Trying to like get rich quickly.
Yeah, no,
like you think about it, it's like it sounds so silly, but a lot of people do think that they can get rich quickly, and that's why they do, these magic multis and like hoping for a lottery payout. But I think your environment's really important because what I want to talk about this is a lot of people I know you reply to them. They say, JP, I gamble, I lose thousands a week. I really want to change my behavior, and I think. The first way you can change your behavior is change your environment. Why are you in these Facebook groups who are just talking about, all these multis they're doing? Why are you in these Telegram groups and whatnot? Maybe you want to touch on that, but I think that's the biggest factor in terms of, if you want to really change your behavior, is change your environment.
Yeah, so power of association not only works positively, it works negatively as well, as you just mentioned. So if you've got a group of 50,000 people, which is one of the Facebook groups, which funnily enough has been one of our main accelerating growths of the Hustler Squad, because I would sit in those groups, kind of lurk in the comments, poke around a little bit, create some little bit of controversy, never personal, but just like put in comments like, oh, you guys are never going to win, 20 people bite back, 3 people come across and learn. Those people then remove themselves from that group and come across. But honestly, if you're sitting around people who are losing all the time, you're not going to just lose like you normally would, you're going to lose more because you're going to see all these posts every day. You're going to get FOMO because you're going to go and see a multi that some clowns put up that has like 10 legs paying 150 to 1. It's not going to win, but you think, oh shit, what if I don't get on that and it wins? Like stuff like that, which you wouldn't see if you're not in those groups. So if you're someone who's kind of having issues with gambling and you're in those groups, like leave them and go and jump into another community which is actually winning and built on structure. And you'll straight away see change within a couple of weeks. But 100%, like, the environment's massive. Like, if you hang around with losers, you'll become a loser. If you hang around with winners, you'll become a winner. It's not really that much more complex than that.
It's funny. It's something I just thought about now is that when you talk about this power of association, is like those communities and groups that will have a positive effect on your life are so small compared to these groups that are negative and having a negative effect on your life. And it's just I don't know if there's a herd mentality and it's maybe these positive groups are so contrarian, so looks so alternative that people just think it's too good to be true. But I just my sort of advice to those out there is explore it. Explore those groups. You have nothing to lose. A lot of them probably are free.
We got a free Discord. I mean, it's not as busy as we'd like it to be. But it'll grow, and I think obviously the platinum community is way bigger. But it did start off from nothing. So, jump into a free Discord, hang around with people who want to start winning. The system free chat, which is obviously part of Trumpy's Tips, has 1,700 people in it. I actually should mention this. The other day, we had someone come across and mention that he lost like 7K in the last 3 days gambling. Just random person coming to that chat, into the bonus turnover chat. There's like 700 people in there. And instantly, like 5 people just said, like they offered support to him and like explained to him that we can't win without a system or a method. I sent in like a 3-4 minute voice recording to him. He listened to that. He sent in a screen recording of all his bets that he placed over the weekend. And essentially he made like 7K on the Saturday and then just lost it all straight away.
Okay, so it's money he made and he lost it.
He's a gambler, so he probably, that's just 1 or 3 day period. But the point was like, he came in there, kind of didn't really know much. He's like, I get this feeling that you can't win gambling. That's what he wrote. Does anyone else feel this way? And like 3-4 people just right straight away like, you won't win unless you follow a system, which we've kind of like ingrained in people now. They know that they can't win. And like I said before in the podcast before this, like if you're not following a system or a structure, you can't win. And as soon as you work and you understand that, then the light bulb moment comes and you're more likely to start doing the other stuff. But
how important, because it's sort of linked to Trump as well, but and it's Hustler as well. How important is just having the right systems and like sort of strategies in your life contribute to success.
It's vital. If you don't have them, you won't win. Like in anything, like training program in the gym, work structure in your job, organization. Like at the end of the day, it's those systems make success. You look at the AFL, the best teams are not some guy who's winning the flag because they have like two individual brilliance. Like the team with the best system wins, and we've seen that for the last 10 years, especially like footy, like Hawthorn, Richmond. Those teams are built on system. So if one person comes out of that team, another one just comes in, and the team doesn't lose because they're missing an individual. The team wins because there's a system in place.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what the system is. They follow it. They win.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't kind of make it any more complicated than that. Set up your systems. I know it's easy to say set up systems if you don't know how to do that. That's another thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
That's what we provide. That's what we teach.
That's my next point.
And once you have those systems in place, the results are inevitable. As long as you can follow them. So
exactly. Yeah. I think it's funny because we apply it to everything in life. Like you just said, like for example, gym. You've written a training program for me, so you follow that. And the reason why I get it from you is because you're someone who's gone before me on that path, right? So you know what's needed to get to where I want to be. I think it's funny when it comes to betting, people don't. It's funny enough. I don't know why they just don't have that belief in a structure or a system. I don't think don't see the need or necessity to follow a belief system. But if someone's gone before you and said, okay, here you follow your system, you're gonna be making money. Like for example, Hustler, we provide the blueprint for the match betting strategies. Trumpy's has the same sort of system. How many units you guys on now? Like 300 or something?
490 at the time of filming in 16 months. So
16 months.
Averaging like 35 a month. Yeah,
exactly.
It works. We know it works. Like we live off it and stuff.
It's just funny. Like, why would you not follow that? Is my thing. And it comes to I don't know if you've read this book, but it's called Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. And he talks about how humans are generally we're irrational. The way we make choices are irrational. For example, if something's offered for free, like if I say buy one get one free, and I put the price at $20, even though two of those things, if you bought two of those things at $10 each, so it's actually the same price. I'm just saying buy one get one free. You're obviously gonna go for the buy one get one free because you think you're getting something for free. You're making actually an irrational decision, but it's predictable. So your behavior is predictable. I think the same thing applies to betting in that. And it's also trading forex, and it goes back to my story, is that we have irrational patterns, and we actually don't take the time of the day to like reflect and realize it. And I think what happened was after I lost that $26,000, that period before we made Hustler, like that month or 2 months, I really sat back and reflected on my life, and I was like, what am I doing? What all these irrational patterns I have in my life just do not generate any success, or like don't generate the goals that I want to achieve, which is like if it's financial freedom or it's to make more money. None of the things I'm doing actually get to where I'm trying to get to. And I think that's when I had that realization or that light bulb moment and said, actually, no, I need to look at people who have gone before me. So like Bob Proctor, for example, the way he developed the right habits, and he's had that paradigm shift in his life. Look at people like Anton Krul, who's achieved financial success. Look at people who've started their own businesses, entrepreneurs, and say, hey, these are the people that have gone and achieved what I want to achieve. I need to follow their systems and listen to what they're saying. And I think, and we're not perfect. We're still on that journey as well. But I just think for the people out there, who may have been in the same position I've been in, lost less or even more money, but sort of can relate to what I'm saying, is you should just sit back, reflect, and say, okay, what were the behaviors that led me to doing what I'm doing, or to what I've done?
Yeah.
What did it lead to? So I lost money. Maybe might have lost a relationship. Some people have said that. Lost sleep, lost energy, everything, feel more depressed. Okay, none of that stuff's positive. How do I change that? And who was going before me is like, now living that positive life and living the life that I want to strive towards, and start following that. And I think when you relate back to like what we're doing with Hustler, and also what you and the other boys are trying to do with System by Trumpy, is that they're basically providing that blueprint and strategy for you to make more money if that's what you're trying to achieve through betting. So why not follow that, And it does take time to sort of process that. Some people don't process, I'm betting for fun. But I don't know, you're betting for fun to make money.
Yeah. And the other thing I'd like to add to that is go and sit in the chats on a Saturday when the system has like a huge day, which is probably like, I don't know, every now and then.
Yeah.
Obviously it wins long term, but there'll be those days where like happened like 4 weeks ago, plus 25 units, and then 6 weeks ago, plus 22 units. So some guys on that day are making like 2-3K, right?
Yeah.
Those days, go in that group and see if they're having fun. Even though it's like structured, systematic, trust me, those guys were all gamblers before and they thought they were having fun. Now they're having much more fun doing the same thing they're doing, spending the same amount of time they'll be doing on a Saturday, sitting punting, except now they know they're going to win. So who do you think's going to have more fun? The guy doing it and losing, the guy doing the same thing and winning? Like, I don't know.
Well, honestly, I can say just from forex. I remember when we were doing. I was not having fun seeing my trades go.
It's like exciting.
It's exciting, but it's not
to
fun.
gamble. That's inbuilt in us. But when you know there's a risk you can lose, it's not as fun. And especially when you do like cop the loss, that's when it's like, nah, this isn't fun, man.
So there's this funny thing. So there's this funny thing that we do in consulting. It's really, I think, really effective. It's called the 5 Whys framework. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it basically says like when you have a problem, you ask why 5 times. So for example, I lost 26K. Why? I wanted to get rich quickly or something, Why? I was in these forex groups. Why? I was seeing these people make money and that's what I wanted. Why? Because I wasn't happy with myself where I am in life. You just keep asking why, and you find that root cause of the problem. And I think a lot of people, if they apply that framework, especially young,
why are you betting?
Why are you betting?
Yeah.
And don't just say it's fun. Okay, why is it fun? It's exciting. Why is it exciting? Because I'm watching, I'm bored. So actually the root problem is you're bored, for example. It's like, the actual root problem is that you are bored, so you're finding something to entertain you, is why you bet, for example. And I think the same with forex trading was, okay, make money, but also it was bored because COVID hit. It's freaking depressed, nothing else to do, right? And I think it's, okay, if you're bored, substitute that with something that you find enjoying or fulfilling. You might be going camping, might be going for a bike ride, might be working out.
Yeah.
We all have our our own hobbies and interests, but substitute that boredom with something that you actually enjoy doing. All of a sudden, step by step, you start realizing you actually don't need to be doing betting. And then what happens then is when you do match betting, for example, you realize it's just like, I'm doing this to make money. It's like you become like a robot. I think we eventually became robots when we match betting.
And my mates, especially one of them, he calls me a robot. Like not much emotion when it comes to money. Yeah. And I'm a very emotional person, but not when it comes to money. I used to be. But if you can kind of make your decisions based off very clear, systematic ways and not get emotion involved with your decision making when it comes to money and betting and stuff, straight away you're going to get massive improvements and you'll start winning very quickly. But if you're making your decisions based off how you feel, for example, you might have lost $100, so your next bet is to chase it. That's emotional. That's going to lead to more losses. Same with your forex. You lost your 7K on the bot or whatever. Next minute you've lost 26K. So like if you maybe followed a structure or a system, didn't let that emotion influence your decision, you don't lose your extra 21K or whatever, or 19K.
I think you touched on something really big there, and it's FOMO.
FOMO is massive.
Yeah, I think FOMO, you could also say it's part of it's ingrained of Australian culture. Like literally everything you see the housing market, you see people buy stocks, you see people, it's just everything's FOMO. And I think FOMO is actually really, I could really liken it to comparison, because what happens is I see you make money off a bet, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, man, JP made a K last weekend. I need to make a K this weekend. So I go and do something similar and I lose. But why did I do that? It's because I compared myself to you in the fact that you won and you made so much money. And then I start having this FOMO. I'm like, oh man, I need to, make the same money. And it's so easy. Like he did it last week. And I think these betting groups on Facebook, a lot of the ones that we've spoken about, really play on that and touch on that. I wouldn't be surprised if there are sports betting companies in those groups.
They're 100% in there.
Triggering that emotion.
Yeah, there's people in there that will 100% be employed to post like dumb multis and like they'll make comments and stuff, and 100%. If I was a betting company, I'd be doing that. Like it works. So if you're there to make money, they're a business, 100%. So
what piece of advice would you give to people who know they're betting because of FOMO? Especially like in mates, your group chat and everyone's betting on like St Kilda to win tomorrow or whatever, and then you're like, crap, I need to do it as well, even though I don't believe it. Yeah,
the best one, Tom actually mentioned this in our podcast, I think it was like week 2 or 3. Yeah. He said, think about what will happen if you lose that money. Can you actually afford to lose the money you're about to put on the bet? If you can't, then it's the wrong decision. So think about the consequences, because people, what they do is they come into that bet and they say, all right, it's going to win. They're in the headspace, the bet can't lose. It's going to win, and there's nothing stopping it from winning. Sit back and say, okay, what if it does lose? Because it probably will. Yeah. Like you just don't think it will at the time, but once it results, it's going to lose.
It's going to,
What's the consequence of that? Can you afford the consequences? Are you willing to deal with those consequences, et cetera, et cetera? Then suddenly you'd be like, okay, well, maybe it's not such a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I think also something that, that we touched on is think about the time that you're going to be investing in watching that game, right?
Yeah.
That's time. If you have family, that's time you should be spending with your family potentially. If you're working 9 to 5, the whole week, and that's spare time you could be spending with them. Think about the effect that it has on your emotions, right? That bet loses you. You're gonna be mad if you lost money, right? All of a sudden you go into outside, you're like angry, upset. It affects the people around you, and I think we don't talk about this enough. And that I remember with forex, I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Literally, I was freaking.
Yeah, relationships are affected. Like, I don't know, your girlfriend might not want to talk to you, or you might not want to talk to her, or you're not prioritizing her or something, and then suddenly like 3 weeks pass and you haven't spoken to anyone else as well. You go into kind of a cave, and you come out and you're like, fuck, like I've thrown away my relationships as well as the money.
Exactly.
And it's a pretty destructive thing you can get involved in if you let it go down that path.
Exactly, and I think and I think a lot of people don't talk about that when it comes to sports betting and gambling and forex trading, all that kind of stuff. Is that you think about those adverse effects that can come out of it. But I just want to sort of maybe like touch on and like sort of finish it off with this like the last topic, which is energy is everything, I think, and who you surround yourself with, the energy that you put out there. So the energy that you give yourself is really important. And what I mean by that is, Bob Proctor talks about this a lot, is having affirmations and having, imagining that life that you want to live, I think is really key to obtaining financial freedom, which is what the hustler community is about, and also improving your life.
Yeah.
I know you're really big on this. You sort of pushed me. I think I've probably gone above and beyond you now with the affirmations. But what would you like probably say if you had to say something about like energy and how that sort of affects your life and the way you live it?
Yeah, I mean, this one's hard. Like, I guess not so much energy, but like, what's the word I want to use? Like, kind of just like doing shit that you believe will eventually happen. So I said this in another podcast that I'm a delusional optimist. So I'll like say stupid shit and then after like 3 months, it may seem like if I said something to you now, right, or I say it to a random person that doesn't really can't see something happening, they might say you're an idiot, you're full of yourself, you're arrogant, this is not going to happen. But if you honestly believe that something you say can happen and you keep telling yourself it's going to happen, and you then subconsciously start making those decisions to actually make it happen, all of a sudden in 2-3 months time it's happened and then you're on to the next thing. That's not going to happen if you sit there with negative mindset, if you don't believe something's going to happen. And to be honest, like, for example, I'll give you an example. My mum was someone who like wasn't negative towards the idea of me stopping osteo, but like it was almost like a safety, like, oh, you studied osteo, you need to do osteo, you need to like fulfill that because that's what you studied. It's a waste otherwise. It's like, hang on, well, I'm not fully happy doing that. I'm going to cut it off, delete, because it was having negative impacts on my life, which is negative energy. Then all of a sudden, forced adaptation, no income for like 8 weeks. Suddenly you've made the hustler squad and now like you're making way more money. You're changing lives all around Australia. Not to pump our own horns, but that's the byproduct of deleting negative energy and following what you want to do and the law of attraction or whatever. And now, like, for example, you set goals subconsciously. I know you write them on like mirrors and stuff like that. I've never done that. It's kind of, for me, more of a subconscious thing. And if I want to do something, I'll plant it in my mind and tell the closest people around me to kind of create some accountability. And then from there, it just happens. Whether that's works for me and not for others, I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's worked for hundreds and thousands of others for sure. And it's no coincidence that it ends up winning. Like, if I just sat there saying nothing, I don't think that's going to happen. So 100% like positive energy, delusional optimist energy, whatever you want to call it.
You're not talking about stuff like saying like, oh, kangaroo's going to win.
No, like shit that you can have an influence on. Like, you can't control
just put it straight out
like
there.
a soccer match or a footy match. But if you can control like your success on a business or something, that's definitely something that.
So like, for example, if you're saying I want to become financially independent, and you're always saying that and you're reinforcing your mindset.
Correct.
Subconsciously, you got to find a way to become financially independent.
Or I'm going to make...
Or you create the right habits to do that.
An extra 500 a week for the next 52 weeks this year doing match betting. Like, we've had guys in the community who started off really small. Even in the system, guys starting off with $10 units. Like, you're not going to make millions doing $10 units. You probably average like 400 a month, right? Which is nothing. People look at that and they're like, oh, that's shit. Well, it is at the start if you're looking at it from a money point of view. But if you're coming from a negative background where you're losing 500 a month, suddenly you're making 400 a month,
Yeah.
you're plus 900, you're not plus 400.
Exactly.
And then your bankroll increases, so does your unit size slowly over time. Suddenly you're making 4K a month in a year's time.
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes like the reward of compound, like we spoke about.
Yeah.
Is that. And it all comes from changing your paradigm,
Yeah.
shifting it across to being positive, deleting the negative energy, and then everything just goes positive.
I think it's all linked, like that energy affirmation paradigm shift. For those who don't know, like a paradigm shift basically means a change in your habits.
Yeah.
And a change in your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to
and
explain.
your goals and kind of what
like
you want to
what the
achieve.
difference between conscious and subconscious mind is.
Yeah, go for it.
So basically, like conscious mind is basically the things we think about, we do. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, okay, I need to go get a haircut today. That's I'm thinking consciously. Subconscious is like those habits that you do without even thinking about. For example, I think for example, going to the gym is subconscious for you. Like you just go. Like for the best part, I think 10 years, I've seen that with you. You just wake up and go to the gym. Like you know you have to go to the gym. It's just a habit, and we don't realize, but when we were kids, there's a lot of things that have been ingrained to us into our subconscious mind, which actually affect our behaviors. And this is probably another topic, but it goes into like, you know, the things that have happened to you as a child actually impact you a lot as an adult, like in the way you probably view relationships, for example, the careers you ingrained into while you're a kid and embedded into your mind. And the thing is, people don't realize that the power of the subconscious mind, we actually can shape that now.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of affirmation. So I put my affirmations on my bathroom mirror and I say them every day, morning and night, while I brush my teeth.
Yeah.
And the reason I say this is to ingrain into my subconscious mind. So for example, I say, okay, I want to make $500 every week extra. That if I keep saying that, it becomes ingrained into my subconscious mind. And what happens is it then helps me create habits.
Yes.
Without even me knowing, I start realizing, all of a sudden I'm on Google or searching ways to make extra money. You know, it might lead me down another path. And I generally believe that then God helps you then to, you know, go down that right path and find the right habits to do that. And I think it's really powerful. A lot of people don't understand that. And I think, you know, what's happening, actually people are being negatively affected in terms of they're part of these, you know, maybe Facebook groups or like forex trading groups that I was part of. And the things that are being ingrained into your subconscious mind actually negatively affecting your habits and lead you down the wrong path. So I think having that conscious sort of idea or conscious sort of, you know, observation that, okay, now I need to change my habits, so I need to change my subconscious mind, I think can really lead you down the right path. And that going back to that forex story, I think that's what happened after I lost all that money in forex. I realized, okay, I need to shift my paradigm after watching Bob Proctor. That means I need to change my habits. The way I can change my habits is by influencing my subconscious mind, and the way I can do that is through my affirmations. And all of a sudden, I've seen, you know, my life change. Probably the better part of the past 2 years. It led to us creating the Hustler Squad, and you just feel more fulfilled because, like you said, we're building communities and changing lives, right? But I think the biggest thing that you spoke about before was belief. You know, like I'm spiritual, and what basically God says in the Bible is that if you have faith like a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Obviously, you can't physically move a mountain. But what he's trying to say there is, if you believe in something, 110%, like you can change the way your life is going. And I think a lot of people, even like with Hustler Platinum, like they are, I'm not sure, hesitant. You know, is this thing the real thing, right? But if you believe in it, you see the people making 100K a year, 50K a year just from following our strategies. And it's not just with Hustler; it's also with like you pursuing your own business. You go out to pursue your own business, and you actually believe in it 110%. You want to make $1 million a year, but you got to make money, more than enough money to sort of, you know, become financially free eventually. And I think having that belief is really important in anything you do, especially if you're trying to change your life and obtain the financial freedom or become entrepreneur and whatnot. But I think just to maybe round it off, would you say, I know your dad was like entrepreneur and whatnot, and him being around him and obviously seeing him, do you think that helped you in this journey of entrepreneurship, or just seeing other people? I think obviously your mates as well. You have other mates who are entrepreneurs, and why I'm trying to talk about that again, power of association. You know, making sure you're around the right environment.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't call him entrepreneur. I would call him more just a really hard worker, because he kind of was very clueless to the like technicalities of like investing and all that. Like he worked his ass off, like owned his own refrigeration and air conditioning business. Like was almost like they call him like the god of air conditioning. He like was he'd done it for years, and people would come and someone else would do their job, and they're like, no, I want him to do it because he was really good. So that came out of him working really hard And then from there, he became very successful because he then invested in property. But he started from jack shit. He came to Australia when he was 10 and with nothing, like the clothes on his back and his parents, and that's it. And obviously then built a successful empire with my mum. But yeah, seeing that, I guess that is a subconscious thing that you don't realize. Like seeing your parents work hard. Maybe if I grew up in a less successful family, then maybe I wouldn't be with the mindset I had.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to know that. You can't see, like you don't see what's happening because it is subconscious. But if you're being exposed to seeing your dad work every day hard, you kind of don't know any different. And all three of us, our sibling, like my two sisters, they're very successful as well because it's kind of been ingrained in us. But 100%, like if you're surrounding yourself with people who don't work hard, then or like don't want to succeed, you probably won't either.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's funny because they say there's this quote that says that we only understand 40% of our mind, and it's funny because you say, I don't know how much that influenced my subconscious. You know, it's true because we don't understand the mind. But I think what I just want to sort of finish off is to those out there and those people who are aspiring to become hustlers, not just in terms of like joining us, the community, but just hustlers in general in terms of like striving and trying to build themselves up and change their life for the better. Is that tap into your potential? Like it's actually unlimited. We don't realize how powerful we are inside. And I think the biggest way you can do that is really changing your environment. So surrounding yourself with the right people, whether that's online or even in person, can really play a big part in changing the course of your life. And I think we're both testament of that. And our failures have led to us sort of, I think, being successful or just being on the right path where we're both living fulfilled and purposeful lives.
Yeah.